Asian American InterVarsity chaplain. So my story begins a little bit before college started. So I was kind of bitter about college, and at the time I had only been a Christian for about 3 months. This was the beginning of freshman year. And I decided, okay, well, why not go to God since I'm having a little trouble? So I came before him and said, God, I really don't want to go to college, so could you at least make my sweet mates Christian so you can make it a little more bearable? And at the time I knew that I was going to be living with 3 other sweet mates, also Asian American, and their names were Zach, Jean, and Jason. So I needed a way to reach out to them to see if they were Christian, because I'm not one who would say, hi, I'm Gary, do you follow Jesus? So I prayed about it a lot, and God decided to use music, specifically guitar, to reach out to him. But I also wanted a song, because I wanted as much guidance from him as possible, because I had no idea what I was doing. And he wound up choosing the song The Answer by Shane and Shane. It is a good song. So I was fooling around with the song one day in the middle of the hallway, just playing around, and Jean walks by and says, hey, is that The Answer by Shane and Shane? So two things about this story really amazed me. One is that at the time he wasn't a Christian. And the only reason he knew that song was because he had a friend in high school who introduced him to him. 2 is that at the time he knew 5 Christian songs. I didn't know the other 4. So if I had played any other song, Jean would not have recognized it, I would not have reached out, and the story probably never would have happened. Okay. So just to give you a quick background of where everyone was in the story, so Jean was agnostic at the beginning of the year. He didn't really know if there was a God, didn't really care, figured there wasn't one. Jason was atheist, and he often mocked me for my beliefs in Christianity, and so the Christian was, quote, stupid and crazy. And then you have Zach, who is a child. He and his family were judged and persecuted by Christians, so he didn't have the fondest view of Christianity. But nonetheless, I really did feel God promising that the soil in all 3 of them was ready for growing, that he would answer my prayer that my sweet would be Christian. So throughout the year, I would be what some people would call annoyingly Christian, and that I would bring them to every large group, every small group, have one-on-one talks with them at 2 in the morning or later. But most of all, I would pray for them every day, and really just have them constantly on my hearts. So the year was long, and not gonna lie, it wasn't extremely easy. But by the end of the year, Jason had told me that he was very curious about Christianity, and that next year he'd get a lot of time. He wanted to invest a lot of it in Christianity and learning more about my faith. You have Zach, who the last week of school told me, I want to be Christian, and I want to follow Jesus, but it's not really working right now. But next year I'm just going to try it that much harder. And then you have Jean, who on some fateful evening in late February accepted Christ on my dorm room floor. So it's still a story in progress, but the story so far is really one about God being faithful and really just answering prayers and keeping promises. That God answered my prayer in the beginning of giving me Christian sweet mates. Just it was on his timing. He answered my prayers throughout the year for him to change and really just touch their hearts. And above all, he fulfilled his promise that the soil in all 3 of them was ready for growing. But all throughout it, he was calling me to be bold and courageous through it all. And it's not just something that he told me. It's not something that he just told Joshua. But it's something that he's calling every single one of us in this room to do. That he's calling every one of us to be bold and courageous for his name. That he's promising us land, he's promising us soil, and the friends, family, and people around us. And all he's calling us to do, among many other things, is be bold and courageous. And that he wants to give us this land. That if we are bold and courageous, I know that not only will you grow, but God will use each one of us to plant seeds and grow fruit in his name. And that's the story so far.